Disney's latest Star Wars series, The Acolyte, has ignited an internet firestorm. From accusations of racism and sexism against fans to targeting popular creators like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, it seems Disney is doing everything except addressing the show's poor reviews. But here's the pressing question: are fans really the problem, or is Disney dodging responsibility for what many are calling a lore-destroying flop? Moreover, why did Looper, a major Hollywood outlet, delete an article that called out these creators for so-called bigotry? Let's dive into why Disney might be panicking and using controversial tactics to deflect criticism, and what this all means for anyone daring to critique The Acolyte. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel and enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Lately, it feels like entertainment companies have fallen into a troubling pattern, putting out poorly crafted, uninspired content. Often, this content is created by people with little expertise or respect for the source material. Disney's The Acolyte serves as a prime example of this trend, combining weak storytelling with a blatant disregard for Star Wars lore, resulting in a project that has disappointed both casual viewers and die-hard fans alike. Given the lack of quality in the series, it's no surprise that it has faced a barrage of negative feedback. In recent weeks, criticism has poured in across social media, from Reddit threads to YouTube reviews, and even low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. But rather than owning up to the show's flaws...
You know, it's interesting that characters can survive lightsaber injuries like this, but a small throwing knife to the chest is enough to take them down and end their lives. Bullshit! Shows how much I know about human anatomy, I guess. Anyway, she works as a mechanic, mechanic.
Are you serious?
On the outer hulls of space freighters, doing the usual stuff like repairing power couplings and putting out fires? Sure, yeah, okay. I guess fire in The Acolyte doesn't need oxygen like in other shows. Anyway, Discount Ezra Miller's killed the owner of a local drugstore and taken over the place. Why? Don't know. But if your intention here is to operate covertly, then killing a local businessman and stealing his shop probably isn't the best way to go about it. I mean, people generally come to know local shop owners because they're an important part of the community, and if one of them was to go missing suddenly, then I'm pretty sure they'd start asking questions. And the first person they'd ask is the random arsehole that's suddenly squatting in his shop. Anyway, those are questions for a different show. A show written by functioning adults who actually understand cause and effect, and that's not what The Acolyte is about. You know, they say that characters are only as smart as the people writing them, and I think The Acolyte is a perfect demonstration of that. Nobody in this show acts with anything even approaching common sense or logic. People make completely incongruous decisions that actively work against their own interests, for no other reason than to keep this absurd parody of a story trundling forwards. The problem with a murder mystery plot is that you actually have to build up and maintain a mystery to keep the audience invested, and it's pretty difficult to do that when every character spills their guts about everything that's happening at the very first opportunity, and all the major players are so completely boring and unlikable that you don't even care who lives or dies anyway. And home the simple but often misunderstood point that well-written characters who happen to be diverse are a perfectly good thing that no reasonable person can object to, whereas diverse characters created for the sole purpose of being diverse are not.
So I watched the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, so you don't have to. Sorry I didn't dress better. I feel it's important to dress for a funeral. You know what? There. As I was saying, it's important to dress for a funeral. Sweep the leg, John. And the thing that the Jedi just come across as weird, predatory, groomer monk assholes. They show up and they're like, you have force-wielding children on this planet under the law of the Republic. Then the matriarch witch mom's like, we're not under the Republic. I was like...
You might want to figure out where your jurisdiction ends.
But the point is, the Jedi are like, hey, we want to talk to your kids. And the moms are like, no. So instead of fucking right off and taking no for an answer against the wishes of the parents, the Jedi just persist to talk to the kids. Dude was like, I know what you want to see. Ooh, how cool is this? Check it out. You can hold it if you want to. You can hold my really deadly laser sword. Dude, why would you give a kid your weapon? What if the kid was like, oh, this is cool. For context, that is no different than being like, hey kid, you want to hold it? Ooh, check this out. It's pretty awesome. It's not real, just so you know. YouTube algorithm. So they're child napping creeps who are irresponsible with their weaponry, sure.
And while Disney and Disney executives like Kathleen Kennedy have been saying that they truly want to respect the vision and creation of George Lucas, they've done anything but that. And with that, I might call time of death on this series. I don't know that I can subject myself to any more of Star Wars The Acolyte. You can let me know in the comments down below if you truly want me to keep going and go episode by episode on this series, but I don't know whether or not I'm willing to commit to that at this point.
Disney appears to have chosen a different path, one of deflection. They seem to be leveraging their influence in mainstream media to steer the narrative, essentially blaming the backlash on the fans themselves. Things took a surprising turn recently when Looper, a prominent media outlet, published an article that directly targeted popular YouTubers Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic. This article accused them of promoting hate simply because they dared to criticize the Acolyte. The article was swiftly taken down after significant backlash. However, the internet had already taken note, and as we all know, what gets posted online rarely disappears for good. It's a bold claim to suggest that criticism of the show equates to hatred and bigotry. Yet, Looper offered little proof before pulling the article. You'd think that if a major media outlet like Looper were going to make such serious accusations, they would back it up with solid evidence, especially since claims of promoting hate and bigotry could easily lead to harassment or even attempts to cancel these creators, like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic. After watching their reviews of the Acolyte, it's hard to see where this supposed unhinged bigotry even appears. Their criticisms focus squarely on the writing, the character development, plot coherence, and general logic of the show. Yet that doesn't seem to fit the narrative that Disney and some media voices want to push. This situation looks like a coordinated attempt by Disney, Looper, and a number of journalists to paint a negative picture of critics and fans who simply didn't like the Acolyte and had the audacity to say so. They're trying to portray the backlash as toxic or as coming from a small, problematic subset of the audience. In reality, the show has faced near universal criticism online, cutting across all kinds of backgrounds regardless of gender, ethnicity, or political views. The consensus has been clear: audiences across the board feel that the Acolyte misses the mark in almost every way. Disney seems to be feeling the pressure, especially considering the massive budget behind the Acolyte. With $180 million already invested in production alone, plus potentially hundreds of millions more in marketing and promotion costs, Disney has a lot riding on this show's success. So it's no surprise they do everything in their power to protect it, including trying to paint its critics as a small, toxic group rather than addressing the widespread negative response. Instead of acknowledging genuine concerns, they're seemingly working to shift the narrative and make it seem like only a loud minority of fans painted as sexist or racists dislike the show. The ratings disaster surrounding the Acolyte is hard to ignore. With audience scores tanking, sitting around 14 or 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, it would seem like a wake-up call for Disney to reassess the show's quality. Instead, they've gone another route, blaming the viewers. According to them, it's the audience that's at fault for not getting it. They're even calling the negative response review bombing, a term that conveniently implies there's an organized effort to sink the show's ratings. Yet when something receives overwhelming praise, there's rarely any talk of positive review bombing. That's because, in their eyes, only negative feedback needs an excuse. When the majority of viewers dislike a show, Disney's narrative suggests the problem lies not with the show itself, but with the fan base. In reality, most fans don't give low ratings just for the fun of it. Sure, a few trolls might leave bad reviews, but they're not representative of the broader audience. The vast majority of people rating the Acolyte negatively simply do not resonate with the content. It's easier for Disney to label these fans as trolls than to admit the show isn't hitting the mark. At the end of the day, they're clinging to any justification for the poor ratings rather than confronting the truth that the show has critical flaws. Financially, Disney's strategy is somewhat understandable. With hundreds of millions on the line for the Acolyte, the stakes are undeniably high and they're eager to avoid a financial flop. But even if we can see the reasoning, it doesn't make it any less troubling to watch. Blaming and attacking the fans is a low blow. When hit pieces target individuals for voicing their opinions, it crosses into alarming territory. That's where Star Wars CEO Kathleen Kennedy comes in, addressing sexism as a central issue within the fandom during her interviews. This stance diverts the focus from the show's quality issues and reframes the conversation as a problem with the fan base itself. Disney and some media outlets are promoting the idea that the Acolyte is only receiving bad reviews because its showrunner and lead actress are women. This argument comes alongside articles claiming that negative feedback toward the Acolyte is nothing but review bombing. They insist that the poor reviews have nothing to do with its quality. Instead, they attribute the backlash to the cast being diverse women and people of different backgrounds. This defense tactic attempts to reduce criticism to mere racism and sexism. But anyone familiar with Star Wars knows how diverse and inclusive the fandom has been for years, embracing female characters like Best Animated and Rey. These characters are not only popular, they're cherished figures in pop culture. Fans simply want characters they can connect with, characters who are well-developed and part of a story that feels authentic. The Acolyte isn't failing because of the gender or ethnicity of its cast, it's failing because fans find the characters and storyline lacking depth and authenticity. And there's a powerful contrast to prove it. House of the Dragon, another show with women in prominent roles, has been met with strong positive reviews. The current season boasts an 87% audience score, a number that reflects how audiences are resonating with its storytelling and character complexity. If audiences were truly sexist, wouldn't they be rejecting both shows equally? But they aren't, because House of the Dragon presents a quality narrative with well-constructed sets, experienced actors, and writing that respects the source material. It's proof that audiences support diverse casts and female leads when the content feels genuine and well-made. Across television, there are many examples of shows with diverse leads that fans have embraced. It's not about diversity alone, it's about quality storytelling and respect for the audience. To cap off this discussion, let's look at an example that dismantles Disney's excuse about the Acolyte and so-called review bombing for its diverse cast. Consider the show Arcane, which has 2 strong female leads and a diverse cast. Season 1 of Arcane was widely praised by audiences and critics alike, hailed as one of the best animated shows, if not one of the best shows in general. The hype for Season 2 is enormous because people genuinely connected with its characters and storyline. The success of Arcane and many other shows with diverse casts directly contradicts Disney's claim that The Acolyte is disliked due to bigotry. Instead, it's evidence that viewers don't reject diversity, they reject poor writing and hollow characters created just to check a diversity box. As for the accusations against creators like Critical Drinker, Disney and some media outlets accuse him of pushing bigotry simply because he criticized The Acolyte. Yet anyone who's watched his reviews can see that his critiques focus on storytelling, character depth, and lore, not on the cast diversity. But instead of engaging with these arguments, articles attacking Drinker and other fans prefer to label any criticism as hateful, sidestepping legitimate points about the show's quality. The bottom line? Fans don't have a problem with diversity, they have a problem with content that feels lazy or insincere. When a show like The Acolyte ignores established lore, its audience will respond regardless of the cast's gender or ethnicity. Disney's attempts to shift blame to the fans simply won't work. They need to acknowledge the widespread criticism and take it as a cue to improve future projects. After all, true storytelling respects the audience and embraces the diverse voices of its fandom. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Disney's The Acolyte and the ongoing conversation surrounding it. If you enjoyed this discussion, please consider subscribing to Movie Saga for more insights and analysis on your favorite shows and films. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.